All right, let's talk about a story where a simple, well-intentioned mistake has consequences that could literally rewrite reality. We're diving into a classic time travel problem, but this one has a twist that makes the stakes incredibly personal and maybe even fail. Seriously, just think about that for a second. You give someone a piece of advice you totally believe in, something you think is genuinely helpful. But what if those few words set off a chain reaction? One that unravels your entire family history and threatens the very fact that you were ever born. That is the nightmare at the heart of our story today. So this is the reality check our main character gets hit with. On one hand, you've got his world, 2018. Smartphones, singing karaoke, modern city streets. On the other, 1918. Rickshaws are the taxis, there's no such thing as a phone signal, and the landscape is completely alien. The culture shock isn't just big, it's a 100-year chasm. So, how does this all kick off? Well, it all starts with a guy named Lian Daxi, whose pretty normal night out takes a sharp, impossible turn into the pages of a history book. And it happens just like that. One minute, he's hanging out with his friends in the 21st century. The next, he falls. And when he comes to, he's soaking wet, totally confused, and in a place he slowly realizes is Singapore, but the year 1918. And his reaction is pretty much what you'd expect, right? He's trying to get a signal on his phone, asking people for directions to places that won't be built for decades. He's completely baffled, and his modern brain just cannot compute when everyone keeps telling him he's 100 years in the past. Okay, so Daxi is lost. He's alone, and he runs into someone who shows him a little kindness. But this one friendly gesture, oh man, it's about to trigger a disaster he could never, ever have seen coming. A young woman, Chen Chunxian, finds him looking like a mess and offers him a place to crash for the night. You know, just a simple act of human generosity. The thing is, what Daxi has no way of knowing is that this is probably the most important night of her entire life. And later that night, she opens up to him. She's completely trapped. Her family has arranged for her to marry some guy she doesn't know, let alone love. She feels totally powerless, like her future is already written for her and she has no say in it. So Daxi hears this and just gives her the advice that makes sense to him, coming from 2018. He says, hey, marriage is a huge deal. It should be about love, about choice. You have to fight for your own happiness. To him, this is just common sense. But to her, in 1918, it's a completely revolutionary idea. And the result of that little chat is immediate. And it is catastrophic. The next morning, when the groom's party arrives to pick up the bride, she's not there. The room is empty. She has vanished. And she even left a note for Daxi confirming it. His words were the catalyst. He gave her the courage to bolt, to escape a life she didn't want. Seems like a good deed, right? He helped someone find their freedom. Well, not exactly. Because Daxi is about to find out who these people really are. And this is the moment the floor completely drops out from under him. This is where the story gets really terrifying. The groom, the guy who was just publicly humiliated, the guy who was absolutely furious, he's not just some random person from the past. His name is Lian Xuegeng. And for Daxi, hearing that name sends a shiver down his spine. And then it all clicks into place. The horrible, stomach-churning truth. The woman he saved, Chen Chunxian, was his great-grandmother. And the man she just abandoned at the altar was his great-grandfather. So let's just break this down. In the original timeline, the one he came from, his great-grandparents get married, that leads to his grandfather, then his father, and then boom, him, Lian Daxi. But now, in this new timeline he's created, that first critical link is broken. She runs away. They don't get married, which means his grandfather is never born, his father is never born, and he gets wiped from existence. And you can just imagine that cold, horrifying realization hitting him. This isn't some abstract history problem anymore. His own life is hanging by a thread that he himself just cut. With the best intentions in the world, he just accidentally erased himself from history. So just like that, his whole mission changes. He's not trying to get back to the future anymore. He is now in a desperate race against time to fix the past and literally save his own skin. The problem is, the damage has been done. And here is his new problem in a nutshell. His goal? Get his great-grandparents married. The obstacle? His great-grandfather has just been publicly shamed and dishonored by the very woman he's supposed to marry. This isn't about love anymore. It's about pride. It's about anger. It's about pure hate. And yeah, his great-grandfather doesn't mince words. He's not just a little upset. He is furious. Any possibility of affection is gone, replaced by absolute loathing. He wants nothing to do with her ever again. So let's just look at Daxi's new to-do list, shall we? First, he's got to find his great-grandmother, who could be anywhere. Then he has to convince the woman he just told to chase her freedom to go back and get married. And finally, the cherry on top, he has to persuade a proud, incredibly angry man to marry the woman who made him a laughingstock. No big deal, right? And that's really the question that hangs over everything. How in the world do you clean up a mess this big? Daxi's modern advice created an old-world problem with no easy answer, and now he's in an impossible race to literally save himself from fading away. So what would you do?